board and director and staff, we welcome Mr. Joe Harper. Let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Harper. He's director of Texas State University Small Business Development Center. So Joe Harper is currently, Joe Harper has over 20 years experience as an entrepreneur owning and operating a construction company. He has directed other SBDC programs at Southeastern Louisiana University, Sam Houston State University, Galveston Community College, Houston Community College, and the University of Houston, Victoria. Joe earned both his Bachelor of Arts degree in business and an MBA from Southwestern Louisiana University. In addition to his consulting experience in a broad spectrum of business issues, he has provided instruction in many programs addressing entrepreneurship, business planning, marketing strategies, market research, and financial management. Let's welcome Mr. Joe Harper.
Well, I'm going to, first, I don't know if I need to turn this on or not necessarily. I do have a booming voice, and I am an old classroom instructor. So, and the other side of that is that I don't do well behind these things. And when my wife found out that, she's got one in the garage, so whenever I get out of line, she brings it out and it slows me down a little bit. I had an interesting conversation with Tom when I first got in and met with him, and I told him that I was from Southeast Louisiana. And he says, "Well, you don't sound like it." And I said, "Yeah, my family tell me that too." You know, so I've been in Texas now. In fact, I'll tell you the story. If I slip off in this vernacular and I can't come back, it's Tom's fault. In 1992, I crossed the Stephen. I kicked the duckweed off my feet, and I entered the promised land. And that's the way I felt when I came to Texas, was that what I realized about the folks in Texas is that risk is really not something that they avoid, it's something they manage. And you would be surprised how many places in this country that's not really the way it's approached. And I think that speaks a lot to the courage and the character of the people of Texas. I think it speaks a lot to the success of business here in Texas. And certainly, I may have been born in Louisiana, but I intend to die in Texas. So thank you all for letting me. And I will say, I don't live in Hutto, but I shop in Hutto. I happen to be kind of barely across the line, but this seems to be a better place, an easier place, and a more friendly place for me to come. So, and I was sort of fascinated with all the hippos. Yeah, it was. I knew there had to be something to that, so I had to investigate that going on. Let me tell you a little bit about the Small Business Development Center and what we do. The history of the program is that many of you are aware of the Agricultural Extension Service. Well, what was built on sort of the roots of that was an extension service for business. They realized they were having success with the ag extension. Why can't we do that with the business extension? And so in the early days, back in the 70s, they began to explore on this, and they created this program through higher education, government, and with business leadership. Now what kind of evolved from there was a dichotomy, because you have academics, and I am assigned to an academic institution, but I also report to a government agency, and then I report to an SBDC oversight. So I have three bosses. That's good and that's bad. It's good. It's bad in that I don't know who's calling at what time. It's good in that they don't want to upset each other. So man, I have free reign. I just enjoy myself. But the academic principles and theory begin to come in conflict with practical business application, and so the program developed its own little bit of an autonomy for us to work with small businesses. And what did that lead to? The program is currently now sponsored by SBA, ASBDC, and the state of Texas. So there are approximately 62 state or regional programs in the state of Texas and in the state of California. Because those states are so big, we have what are called regional programs. So in the state of Texas, there are 4 regions. Our region reports out of San Antonio, but it is the largest region in the state of Texas because we cover all of the valley from El Paso to the Gulf and then up to probably San Angelo is probably as far north as we go. And there are 1,100 sub-centers, of which Texas State University is a member of. We're one of the 1,100 nationwide. The program is now in Mexico, South America, and entering into the Caribbean on the same model. And you might be happy to know that Texas was the one that was able to bring this program to those other countries as well. I told you about our funding, but our funding right now, the state of Texas puts up $2 for every $1 that the SBA puts up. The reason for that is that we've been able to demonstrate to the state of Texas that we can produce, for every dollar the state of Texas puts into this program, we give them back just under $6 in new tax revenues. So we're considered revenue neutral, but obviously we're revenue generators. But so the state of Texas matches us 2-to-1, and we tend to do what the state of Texas tells us to do. We're the SBDC. Why were we created? 99.7% of all employer firms are small businesses. 60 to 80% of all net new jobs are created by small business. 80% of all startups fail in the first 5 years. And 20% of small businesses produce 80% of the jobs. That last statement, the reason that's highlighted is because that's where we began to change our business model as an organization. And historically, we have worked with those people who have an idea and want to turn it into a business, are exploring the business, or who have what we call a micro or a lifestyle business and is looking to try to do more with it. What we recognized is that a good portion of those folks that we were working with were not ones adding up to 80% of the jobs. And we also recognize that we have a lot of partners out here who do a lot of the same things we do. And so we began to change our business model so that the SBDC now can focus on executable, scalable businesses and allow our partners like SCORE and the Women Business Centers and those programs to deal with those people who are trying to get to an executable point. When they're at that executable point, we step in and help them execute, and we help them build the strategies and move forward. The reasons why the small businesses fail, number one reason is lack of planning, lack of adequate resources, lack of research, and a lack of knowledge. How we're measured as an organization. And this is why we've begun to look at economic development organizations as key partners of ours, because we're all focused on the same metrics. It's all about the new jobs created, the jobs retained, business starts, business expansions, and capital infusion. Our mission: provide technical assistance in the form of business analysis, strategic planning, research, and access to capital through consulting and training. So that's sort of a concise statement, but what we do is we work with businesses who are either addressing an internal challenge or looking for an external opportunity, and we will work with that business through this medium to be able to help them develop the strategies and achieve their goals as they go through it. And these are the kinds of things we do. I apologize for these slides, and I really should have checked them before I brought them up here. When we talked about internal challenges, what happens is when we go out and visit with a business, it's usually about looking for an opportunity and how do we help them expand that business through that opportunity. Sometimes we'll bring the opportunity, sometimes they'll have the opportunity, and we need to help them address that. When we get there, we discover something. We discover that there's some internal challenges. They may know about it, they may not know about it, but just as a course of developing that relationship, we begin to look at certain things. And those are internal challenges: declining sales, cost overruns, cash flow management, debt structure, inefficiencies in their operations. I mentioned external opportunities. We work with startups that are scalable. We work with expansions, help them improve capacity, diversification in market. Some of that diversification can be commercialization of technology, taking some technology that's available, using it to help you develop a new product line, and to expand in that way. That gives you an opportunity to expand in the market share you already control. If you're looking to expose yourself to a greater market share, then we begin to look at things like international trade, and also we work with people with government contracting. Probably the most important thing that we've discovered recently that we need to help businesses with is exit strategies. And up until this last couple of years, an exit strategy was not even a part of the business plan process. It was all about get me up, get me running, let me make some money. The end game, though, is at some point you've got to exit. I mean, whether you want to or not, at some point you're going to exit, so it's a good idea to plan how that occurs. And so we began to work with helping businesses develop transition strategies and exit strategies. Most of the types of assistance that we can provide help you develop the feasibility. We can look at the idea, whether it's to expand on a certain product, if it's to add a product, if it's to expand a business, to go into an acquisition or a joint venture. We'll look at all of the feasibility. We'll help you with the strategic planning on how to achieve that. We look at the analysis. We'll take a look at your financial positions and your capacity, and then we'll help you look at your competitors a little closer, identify who they are, where they are, and what's their unique strategic advantage. Interventions, most of the interventions that we deal with have to do with loan covenants. What happens is the bankers now contact us and say, we've got a small business who's not in compliance with their loan covenants, and we'd like for you to work with them to bring them into compliance. Some of the things that we're working with the bankers going forward is what we would like is to have this sort of a pre-loan relationship with this business so that we can go over what those loan covenant compliance issues might be, what their obligations are to that, and that we can begin to work with them on an ongoing basis to make sure that they don't get into trouble with loan compliance. The other is a business checkup. You may not necessarily know the strength of your business currently, and if there's some things that are going on, particularly in relationship, you know, the time that the dollar leaves your bank until it comes back can be an extremely long process, and it's costly to you. But when we do a business checkup, we're looking at turnovers, we're looking at cash flow turnover, inventory turnover, what's happening with the dollar from the time it leaves your pocket until it comes back to your pocket, and is there a way for us to help your business shorten that timeline, become more profitable in the process. And then business continuity, and I think this became very apparent to a lot of folks over to the east of us in Bastrop when we began to work with the wildfires and what happened. There were 32 businesses that were affected by the wildfires in Bastrop. Obviously, thousands of individuals that were affected. But what we began to do then is to work with those businesses directly. How do you plan for continuity? It's a little late after the fact, but it's something that really caught on. But first off, how do we help you get through this process? How do we help you? What's the government's role in this? How do you access funds? How do you access the government guaranteed loans? Where do we go with your business? Because one of the things that we recognize is that if a business is not up and going 72 hours after the event, they probably won't open their doors again. Now that's a broad statistic because it doesn't fit every business, but I think in general the point is if you don't have a plan for how you're going to initiate sales 72 hours after an event, you will probably not survive. And so continuity planning is a very important thing for the success of your business. Insurance is great, but and interruption insurance is better. But what happens, the momentum of your business, the lead times and the things that you have, commitments that you have with your suppliers and your customers, all of that gets disrupted in there, and you need to have a plan on how to address that. We do trainings, and I have met this morning with Gracie. We're going to talk about our partnership going forward. The types of trainings that we do, lunch and learns, where we can come in and do sort of an information presentation at lunch that basically gives you some information and things to work with. We do some 2 to 6 hour trainings, which will be more hands-on. One of the things that I'm asking my training team to do now, though, is to begin to focus on bottom line. If I take 2 hours of your time out of your business, I need to be able to demonstrate to you that that 2 hours is going to have an impact on your bottom line. And then we need to have the consultants ready to help you implement what you've learned so that you realize that impact to your bottom line. We can get information nowadays off the internet, so there's enough information floating around. We don't need to hold a training session on information. We need to hold a training session on action on how to do those things. So that's our new focus. Now, some of the series that we looked at are Fast Track, and I know you guys have done Fast Track here because Scott told me about it, and it's a very good program. We're all certified to teach in the new venture, the growth venture, and the I can't remember there's a level a little bit below that. We also do Next Level, and the reason that we teach Next Level, in contrast with Fast Track, is that Next Level has a component to help with agricultural-based businesses, and it's called Tilling the Soil, and that's the way it follows the same format as the Fast Track, but it's more for farmers, ranchers, producers, growers. We do Profit Mastery. I don't know if any of you have heard of Profit Mastery as a training. It's a financial management training program that has been developed delivered in layman terms so that anybody, whether you have a finance background or not, can really come to terms with your business and the financial value of your business and talk to you about how to manage your financial position in a business going forward. It's a really good program. I just put my entire staff through it. It's about a 16-hour program. And we went through it. I put them through it because I wanted everybody to be on the same page. But I've been looking at financial training programs for a number of years. This by far is the best. And simply because it's in simple terms. You can understand it. And not only can you understand it, but you can go back and you can apply it. And you can begin to see the results from it. We also do the Franklin Covey 7 Habits, which is highly successful people. It's a program that we found, and I do know that SBDP is delivering that through UT right now in the city of Austin, and we'll be working with them to help them in that process. Conferences, 1- and 2-day events. We do conferences on international trade, government procurement, human resource management, disaster relief, and business continuity, like we talked about. And then technology commercialization, which you'll see more about that going forward, since we are sort of in a technology hub here. And I was at a meeting the other night. It's called Refresh Austin, and I was sitting in a room of 100 entrepreneurs between the age of 18 and 25. And the questions, and they had a panel, and the questions that were going to the panel were not where we step up to a microphone and ask the question. They were tweeting them back and forth. And so I realized I spent a few minutes trying to find Tweeter on my phone. And I said, okay, I got to learn this language or I'm going to be left behind. But we are starting to address more and more technology-based. And one of the new programs we'll be rolling out real soon is what technology is the right fit for your organization. So there are 5 stages of business that we work with. There's the early stage, which is the pre-venture and startup. And those are primarily home-based, lifestyle, micro, and emerging technology. I mentioned before that we're building some new strategies with our partners with SCORE and with the Women's Business Program and with the SBDP out of Austin. Because most of the businesses, let's see if I can use this little button here, most of the businesses that we used to work with were come down to just about there. And there was a lot of folks providing services here. We've decided that we're going to let the other folks provide the services on this level, and we're going to change this to scalable. So we're going to look at businesses. You can be a lifestyle business or a micro business, but you need to be scalable. Now, what does scalable mean? Scalable means that you need to have the ability to capture market share beyond the local market. You need to be looking outside your local community. You need to be what we call a regional reach or a national reach or international reach, but those are scalable businesses. But we work hand in hand with our partners to make sure that all businesses get the services they need. The stage 1 business is a business that controls its market share. If you've managed to stay in business for 5 years, you pretty much control your market share at this point. Capturing more market share is a whole different story, but if you control what it, a stage 2 business has some operation systems, engages in resource management. Interesting thing that most entrepreneurs seem to drop out right about here. This is an exit strategy. Because here is where entrepreneurs have to start giving up some control. If you want to grow as a business, you got to start bringing some, if you're the capacity of the business, you're going to grow to your capacity, and that's the end of it. Giving up control is a way for you to create some new capacity for your business. If you want to grow, become a scalable business, you're going to have to begin to think about giving up some of that control and learning how to rely on people with skill sets, particularly strengths that you may not even have or realize you need. But stage 2 is the has operation systems engaged in resource management. Stage 3 is management systems in place. Stage 4 is corporate culture. The SBDC functions right here. So if your business fits there, we want to work with you up front. If you want your business to go there, we want to work with you. If you're at a point where you're not sure where your business is and you want us to do an assessment, we can do that as well. But it's about the greatest utilization of resources. We're all pressed for our time. The state of Texas says you go out and you deliver these programs, but we want to see results. If we don't meet the goals the state of Texas gives us, they don't give us the money. So it's like anything else. I look at the SBDC and say, if we're going to teach businesses how to be successful, we need to live what we preach. And that means we need to run this program as a business rather than a government organization. And so that's how we approach this. The services are all prepaid. Your tax dollars pay for it. You should utilize it. And there are some costs related to the training programs. So that's pretty much the program. Have any of you all heard of the SBDC program prior to this morning? And have you had any exposure to the program up to this point? And well, let me encourage you to go online, learn who we're about, to take a look at your business and say, are you at this point where you would like to have that checkup? You'd like for us to look and see what your growth opportunities might be? We will be working with some student interns. I talked with Matt Painter last, I guess it's been a month and a half ago now, to look at being able to use some of the MBA interns to help us with some of the research. The analysis, of the feasibility, and those things are left up to the professional counselors, but a lot of the background work and the research work, we would like to bring the students in and give them some exposure to. If you're going to go get a business degree, you should get some exposure to some of the real things that happen in business and to be able to empathize with the business person. I've had to make a payroll. I've had to make several payrolls. Probably one of the happiest days of my life was the Thursday night when I woke up. I was going to bed and I realized I can sleep tonight because I don't have any employees anymore. And it's just me, you know. So we've all gone through some transitions. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been in business. Well, I don't know if you can technically call it a business, but I started at 8 years old because Dad wouldn't give me any more allowance and I needed more money. I just couldn't function off the allowance he was giving me, and so I began to find ways to create creative ways to make money, and I've been doing it ever since. Have any questions?
Do y'all do primarily a market analysis in a particular area?
We do. We have a program that's called a gap analysis, where we can look at a given community and find out what business is needed in that community. If we are in a region, I can do it from as tighter a circle as you want to as broad a circle as you want. And it helps us look at the goods and services being offered, goods and services in demand. We can look at the psychographic profile of the market, determine what they buy, when they buy, why they buy, so you can begin to position yourself better. We are seeing a transition from sort of the physical location or the bricks and mortar businesses to more online businesses, and we're trying to play catch up so that we can provide assistance in that too.
Joe, I'm a local cattle rancher and got a little cow-calf operation. I noticed you have that next level, which is agriculture. Can that help somebody like me, you know, see if I'm going on the right track and how to be more profitable, or do you have any suggestions for ranchers?
It's a real good program, and that's one of the reasons that we adopted the program. Now, I say that in that it's not the, understand that from an educator's perspective, I probably don't think that's the best program. It's the best that's out there, but I want to be honest with you, there's some improvement that needs to be done. with that program, but yeah, it's a good program and at least putting you on the right path or evaluating where you are and to start looking at certain strategies of how you can improve your operations. And the reason we brought that in was because FSA has a requirement that anyone receiving government guaranteed funds through FSA is required to have financial management training. And so we brought that program online so that we can meet those conditions with our contract with FSA. But we found that it really goes beyond that because it's a holistic approach to the agricultural operation rather than just addressing the financial angle.
I think the stages you listed, I noticed that you made a little bracket saying you go from here to here and you did not go to the corporate level.
Right.
Does that mean you do not deal once a business is incorporated?
No, not once a business is incorporated. There's a corporate culture. That's when a business has a corporate culture. That basically it is at such a size that there are individual departments that begin to manage all of the segments of the business. But when a business gets to that size, we're sort of held back. The government says you can't compete with private industry. And that means private consultants, that's their bread and butter at that level. And so we back off. Look, we've got more on our plate than we can handle anyway. There's no sense in trying to take something away from somebody who's making a living at it. And that really doesn't serve the purpose of what the program is designed for. So once a business gets to a point where it really takes on a corporate culture, we'll provide assistance with them with regards to international trade activities, technology commercialization activities, lean manufacturing. We'll provide those kinds of assistance, but the core program stops before it gets to the corporate culture. Anything else? Thank y'all very much for letting me come and talk to you.
Thank y'all for coming this morning. Next month we have Alvin Langford, who's the Chief Appraiser of the Williamson County Appraisal District. In June we have Joe Fryer, who's with the SH-130 Concession Company. That's the group that's doing the last segment of the toll road, the SH-130. And he's going to give an overview of what SH-130 is and what it's going to become. So I think that'll be a great presentation in June. And next month, Alvin Langford always has some of the best information we get all year with the new tax rolls and how the assessments are coming. So look forward to seeing y'all next month. Have a great day.